Hey fellas, welcome to another episode of Roll Back. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about the two states in which our body is usually in. So, I'm going to be talking about their physical and mental giveaways or characteristics. So, we know which one we're in and use this knowledge of these states to be able to move from one state to another. And I'm no expert at this, but just the theoretical knowledge about this has, kind of helped me be more aware of my mind and body, and in fact, handle some unfortunate situations like a breeze. So let's get started. The two states in which our body is usually in are a rest and digest state, also called as a safe and social state, or a state when our parasympathetic nervous system is active. And the other state is a fight and flight state, also called as a stress response, or a state when our sympathetic nervous system is active. So let's understand the characteristics of each one of these. Let's start with rest and digest. And as I'm laying down these characteristics, try and think of times when you felt the same way. For this state, it should be pretty much very recent or maybe even right now. So the characteristics are you feel relaxed, you feel safe, you're not showing any signs of restlessness, you are sociable. In fact, you might even be looking for opportunities to engage in conversations. And if you observe on a physical level, your heart rate actually slows down and your breathing is prolonged. I mean, your inhales and exhales are the same length and may last for 3 to 5 seconds each, but that's too much specifics. You have relaxed muscles, you're not clenched on to anything. So, pretty relaxed state, a good state to be in. And there are a few things happening internally as well. Let's go through them. You have a good circulation of blood in your gut and immune system, which means you're going to digest food really well, and hence the name rest and digest. And you're going to also be very restorative. Your hormones are also going to balance out in this state. So yeah, again, a pretty cool state to be in. Rest and digest. That's rest and digest. Next comes the fight and flight state. Again, almost the complete opposite of rest and digest. And the characteristics for this state are you feel stressed, you're full of anxious energy, your alertness kind of shots up, and you start to speak louder and faster without even realizing. Your heart rate, kind of it speeds up your heart rate. You have tighter muscles, you've almost clenched on to something maybe, or have stifled shoulders. So this is one of the giveaways of this state. Your breathing is shallow, and you mostly start to breathe from the upper part of your body, and the inhales and exhales, the lengths of the inhales and exhales is smaller. uh, Again, you might even, some people even start to sweat in this kind of a state. And there are some things internally happening. You have some changes in blood circulation. So your blood starts to move from the gut and immune system to hands and legs, essentially signaling a fighting response or a fleeing response. So, not a pretty cool state to be in, but honestly, we need both these states. I mean, all these things sound like a very anxious guy's state, but these are pretty important to survive. You need a fight and flight response to be able to face, a high intensity kind of action demanding situation, such as maybe a car crash or, an actual fight. But you need it in short bursts. And even though our brain is the most complex device on earth, it kind of fails to understand the difference between the situation of a physical situation where there is a need for fight and flight, an actual situation, when you have to actually fight someone, versus a simple emotional encounter, maybe like a job interview or a presentation on stage. But all of these things come under the umbrella of anxiety, and job interview or presentation on stage, they might come under social anxiety, or any other kind of anxiety, basically. Uh, the thing is, the civilization has shaped us this way that our response to a situation which is social and we have our ass on the line, we kind of switch from a rest and digest state to a fight and flight state. But the physical variables associated with these states, they don't align. So you don't want your blood pumping in a job interview, right? In your hands and legs, you don't want those unless you're trying to like run away. That's a different thing. But you don't want any kind of blood pumping in your limbs in a presentation on stage. So that's the difference. Our brain is pretty cool device, but it's just not able to differentiate between these. So that's what happens. But the real problem starts to arise when you are in the fight and flight state or this nervous or anxious state for far too long. And this book, The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton, explains this so nicely, and it's so deep, that most people who develop chronic disease is because of their stress response, which pushes them into a fight or flight state for longer period of times, which in turn pushes the blood from your gut to the limbs for prolonged period of times. That's when people start to develop gut issues. Like there's no blood there, they start to develop gut issues, and those gut issues in turn develops even more stress in the body, and there's a whole hormonal imbalance happening with that, and the cycle goes on, and then it leads to some serious health issues. So you want to be away from that. Also, from an occult science perspective, people who are in fight or flight state most of the times have their Muladhara chakra or root plexus unbalanced. And as the name suggests, if the root is unbalanced or if the foundation is weak, the building is going to be weak. So if you're one of those people who think that they are in this fight and flight state, or are too nervous or are too stressed, more than necessary, you might even try, you can definitely try meditations and chantings, that helps your root plexus, that helps balance out the root chakra. And now, because we know the characteristics of these states and the health implications associated with the stress response, and and how I love to marry occult sciences and polyvagal theory, we can use our consciousness to step back and recalibrate our bodies to what's actually required. So we can do a few things to go up the ladder and enter this rest and digest state from a fight and flight state. So one of the things that you can do is breath work. By the way, these are all remedy centric things. I'll talk about some preventive actions as well. So one, it's breath work that you can do, more specifically box breathing, which is a pretty famous exercise. Navy SEALs do it. It's pretty simple. You inhale for 5 seconds, you hold for 5 seconds, then exhale for 5 seconds, and then hold again for 5 seconds. And then you repeat this process for 3 to 5 minutes. And remember to breathe from your belly, and it will definitely make a positive change in your physiology. You'll definitely feel it in just 5 minutes. So it's breathwork is one. The other one is guided journaling. Writing really helps a lot in transmuting any kind of energy in your body to kind of flow down on a piece of paper. So I've expanded on journaling as an outlet in an episode. The name in itself is journaling as an outlet of one of my episodes of this podcast. Go ahead, listen to that one if you really feel like writing can really help you in transmuting that anxious energy. So that's a good one. What else you can do? You can make a plan of the whole situation. It helps you see the bigger picture, or have that emotional encounter that you've been waiting for, or have been overthinking about lately. Just have it, really just take action. So that helps. If it's something which is unfortunate and has happened, You can just cry the fuck out of yourself. And this is a big one. People actually mourn inside, but they don't really cry. You gotta let the body know what's up. So cry. It really helps. It helps transmute that energy again. I always go about that same line, transmute that energy, because it is what's really happening. So shout in a pillow, or maybe in your car, just be civilization friendly, or cry. So all these things really help the energy flow, and that's the whole point. Now, some of the things that we can do long term, some of the activities we can do long term, and we should really do, to prevent and be much more happier and relaxed. They are, okay, this one's gonna be a cliche. Ready? Meditation. And simply being aware of your thoughts. And if you're someone who struggles getting into a meditative state, I recommend doing some breath work with some non-lyrical music, any classical music that you like. I have an episode on how to do meditation using a breathwork. I think the name is Breathwork for Meditation. One of my episodes, you can check that out as well. Next, we have, again, these are prolonged kind of activities. So physical activities, hitting the gym, running, it's a big one. Honestly, I've been doing it lately, and maybe we can talk about it in a future episode. Dancing. Strange, but yes, dancing, or ecstatic dancing to be more specific. That's called just dancing with no mind. So if you can be in a safe space and surroundings, like no one's there, and it's a private space, you can just put on the music of your choice and dance without the fear of judgment of how you're gonna look. Because dance really is, I saw it in a movie. Some philosopher said that dancing really is the exposure of the idioticness that you have, and how soon you're going to do it, that depends on what personality you have. So dancing really helps. If you can do that in a private space alone, with just some music on, and just let the body flow, you'll realize in just 5 minutes into the dance, initially you're going to judge yourself, but just go about it. In just 5-7 minutes, you'll see that your body is trying to make some moves, and it's weird and it's different, but that's the body's way to actually communicate, and just let the body do what the body wants. So yeah, this brings me to the end of the episode. I hope you found this one useful. See you soon.